with aloha authentic.
Aloha mai, and welcome to another episode of Aloha Authentic with Kumukahi, Hawaii's only TV show that really brings focus to our own local artists and practitioners and kupuna and shares their story, their mana'o, their kauna, and their meanings of their work, and also allows time to archive their voices and archive their stories so their mo'olelo can continue on to the next generations and keep that knowledge and all that ike alive. Today we have a very special guest, Hawaiian musician Auntie Kuʻuipo Kumukahi, sharing her mana'o. Mahalo nui, Auntie, for coming on.
Pleasure.
But before we go into the conversation, I want to kind of just do my little layout of what's on the table and why we might be poo-pooing during the day, during the conversation. We have our bowl of poi, and we have our poke. Some of you may know what this is for, but for those who don't, the poi and the poke, me being raised by my tutus and my kupuna, they always said that when the bowl of poi is open on the dinner table, that no negative talk is spoken, only conversations and stories of positivity and good mana, good energy. So to represent what the show is about, we have the open bowl of poi, that this talk that we're going to be talking about, this conversation, is going to be all about positive and good mana. So get your bowl of poi and get your poke and come poo-poo with us. Join the party. So before we go on, after that was covered, I want to go into our new segment that we just started a couple episodes ago, which is called Did You Know? That is proudly sponsored by the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association. And today's Did You Know is about aloe. And did you know that aloe was brought to Hawaii specifically because it was a medicinal plant? There are 3 parts of this plant that can be used. You have the skin, which is used as a laxative. You have the gel of the aloe, which is the clear part inside, which is used for cuts, burns, and ulcers. And then you have the 3rd part, which is the sap. That's the stinky part, which is used for rashes, for sunburns, for dry, aging skin, and even acne. And even a teeth whitener, which is, I don't know, that thing kind of hauna and stink and no taste good, so I don't know how good that is going to be on your teeth, but go for it, try it out. I have aloe in my backyard. We always used it for sunburns. So that's your Did You Know, now you do. Going into our conversation, we have so much to talk about. We can go straight into it.
Okay.
Okay, Auntie, so everybody knows you as one old school Hawaiian musician.
I guess so, maybe.
You've set a lot of songs and a lot of, at least for me, I've always seen you, I always looked up to you as one of those who's been playing music for such a long time, where you have so much and a diverse range of knowledge of what Hawaiian music is. And the thing about you is you're very passionate about perpetuating Hawaiian music into the future and continuing what traditional Hawaiian music is and the sound of traditional Hawaiian music. But with that, where did Hawaiian music start for you?
It actually started with it was a friend to me. I'm an only child. We are originally from Hilo. We moved here in 1969, and I was at a new school, and I had no friends yet. And with an ukulele in the house, my mother really encouraged me to play it, and to be self-taught. And she just had a knack of encouraging me. And after seeing the aunties and the uncles all underneath the mango tree on Aloha Avenue, I was pretty mesmerized by the fact that they all knew how to sing and they all knew the words. And later, when moving back to Hilo, my mother really encouraged listening to Hawaiian music. In fact, that was my alarm clock. She never woke me up with an alarm clock. She always would put music on in the house, and it was Hawaiian music. And the one album we had at home was the Halekulani Girls. It was a nice blue album, Twilight at the Halekulani, and I was so enamored of such. They were very classy. They stood there so very prominently, and with guitar and bass and ukulele in hand. And I thought to myself, one day I want to be just like them, not knowing all the challenges that came from that. Part and parcel of that was the fact that my father was a manaleo. He never spoke to us in Hawaiian at home. My mother could understand, she never spoke. But the words were used in the house. In retrospect, I believe my parents were very supportive in me studying or learning the old Hawaiian songs, because that kept the language alive for me, even if I didn't speak it. I had to go to college later on to learn how to speak Hawaiian. And I was fortunate to speak it with my dad. So my parents were very, they were the stalwarts as far as making sure that in a very non-invasive way, but very encouraging, and always using this sense of, go sing that song, go make them happy. And if you can do it, do it. You know, it was that way of just giving of yourself to someone through music. And my mother just kept saying, if you learn this instrument, I'll get you a better one, and a better one, and a better. And she kept her promise.
My mom bought me one piano, one old, you know, like kind of getting Toys R Us, because I always wanted to learn the piano. So she bought this, and I'm like, but this is not the one that shows you the keys that you play as you're playing. So I never really perpetuated that. But for you, self-taught, how is teaching yourself an instrument, and like, were you able to read music?
No. You know, there's a wonderful difference when you're taught how to read, and you are self-taught and just immersed in just by watching and feeling. There's a different feel. I think both sides, the outcomes are great on both ends. But I think the people who are self-taught and can play by ear and listen by heart and emulate and project, I think there's a different sense of pili with what you're doing. I think the other way, nothing wrong with reading music. It's very enhancing for everything you want to know, your education and music. However, I think there's a little bit of a box built around that, with the other side being self-taught and being just immersed.
So it's like the difference between thinking about the music and then feeling the music, which are now.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. When it comes to music, at least for me, I'm very unmusical, musically uneducated. But so I'm always very intrigued of watching, you know, like when you have hula shows and you have the musicians and the dancers. Half the time I'm watching at the musician just to see that zone, because some people just go into like this trance, and then you can feel what they're feeling at that time, which makes really such a space of magic for me. So for you, who was your role models that you really was touched by growing up?
I have to say it started in the family. It really anchored back in the family. Although, you know, my mother's entire family they were ministers, and so, you know, she did say, you know, they shouldn't be doing these kinds of songs, you know, but nevertheless they did. Yeah, and which were the party songs and the songs that everybody knew, and even songs that were written by Ali'i that I had no clue, but everybody knew the song, such as Aina Hau, for example. In that sense, my role model came from within the family, not one, but a collection. Later on, people or musicians such as the Halekulani girls, I was very intrigued with the voice of Marlene Tsai, and then I found out there was another woman with a very very sultry contralto voice, and that was Haunani Kahalewai. So, you know, I dug up her old records, which you almost couldn't find, and listening to that voice, and I just enjoyed just listening and listening. And sometimes my mother would say, "Stop playing that record, you're gonna puka the record." I said, "Oh," but Ma, you know, and I would keep playing and playing, and I was never interrupted by them. So, you know, hearing, and I started listening to, as I got older and got to understand more about what I do and how far away I am from that kind of profession. I begin to listen to nuances. I listen to them breathing, you know, on the way they're singing. And eventually I was asked by Neva Rego to come to her classes to learn to better the voice. And then I can understand today why and how they've done what they've done all their lives in singing, and have taken my lessons from my teacher for over 20 years in voice lessons, to be able to take some of that information and stick it into the Hawaiian for beautiful beautiful conveyance of the language through the song. And for me, that's why it's always the old. To me, the old songs breathe better. There seems to be a little bit of, it seems to live a little bit better than some, and nothing wrong with the new things, but today. But in the difference, if I had to separate them all, I always gravitate to the old.
Playing a lot of traditional Hawaiian music, as a performer myself when it comes to hula, I know the challenge of having something being repetitive where you can become complacent and you can become, it could become a muscle memory type of exercise. So by playing the same song, well, not necessarily the same songs, but all old songs over, and you have a lot of different concerts and gigs, how do you stay excited about all these old songs by playing them over?
So basically, how do you not be bored?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fast way to say it.
Yeah. You always try, for me, I always try to find something that I can just maybe hakui different, you know, in the breathing or the phrasing or a note or two to just move it around, and it's really to keep me occupied. But it doesn't matter, because whatever comes out of my mouth, meaning the words, not the voice, it's just ono. It's like the poe and the poke. It's just ono. I don't know how to describe it any different. And, you know, as we know in Hawaiian, the more you speak it, the more mana that comes through. And I always think, I wonder what this composer was thinking about when they wrote this. Oh man, where were they sitting? Who were they talking to? Who was inspiring them? What was, you know, and all that goes into my head and my heart, even while I'm doing it. So I never get bored.
And music was, like, I know we've talked about this a little bit in previous, that music, at least in today's, especially tourism industry in Waikiki, that Hawaiian music is entertainment to visitors, and entertainment is good to the ear, but music is much more powerful than that because of the words and the message and the stories that's being shared. So to you, what really is the point or the purpose of Hawaiian music?
It's the story. It's the story. It's the information that's held within the poetry. You know, Hawaiian music is the words first, music second. But our composers have found that way to create the synergy between the two. And even if we took out the notation, the music notation, those words still are strong and are moving and is very well alive. As far as the tourist, maybe not being interested, it's because it's another language. But what they don't hear and what they don't know is the stories behind them. And at that point, there's a fine line between just us sitting in our house singing in kanikapila and you know, oh yeah, we know that song, and we understand the connection. Is when does it become a performance as opposed to just us making music in the living room, kanikapila style? Performance is a different animal, and there's a way that the person who conveys all that information, there's a way to engage the audience so that they understand. Because, you know, tourists, when they come to Hawaii, they don't know that they don't know. So we have the opportunity at that moment in time to help shape their knowledge. And if we don't take that opportunity, then we lose. So we have to step forward and take the opportunity to educate in a very non-confrontational, non-combative way, and that's always through mele. That will always come across as a great message.
So I know you brought up the ali'i in the past, and talking about Hawaiian music carrying a story, and I know that there's a lot of music, you know, mele inoas, songs that were written and dedicated in honor of ali'i or in certain places. How do you see Hawaiian music back then and the respect that it was given compared to music today and the respect that we give to it? Not saying that it's different, but what is the difference between Hawaiian music back in the ali'i times and Hawaiian music today?
Well, I think in the time of our ali'i, there was no such thing as marketability, which is what we see today. That's a big challenge today. For our ali'i during their time, And we discovered this through the Hawaiian Music Hall of Fame in 2007. I was commissioned to produce an album entitled Nalani Eha. And through one of our discoveries at the recording studio, and through the efforts of Kimo Stone, who was president of the organization back then, the question was brought to us, how many sovereigns do you know wrote mele for their people during the 18th, 19th century? And we thought about it, checked on the internet, said, gee, we couldn't find anybody. But you see, right here in Hawaii, our own ali'i did this, our own sovereigns did this for their people. So we concluded that, you know, true Hawaiian leadership was being versed in the fine arts, and especially in poetry. So it's a leadership skill. Today, I think what has moved into from a time of people who were manaleo, who documented all their experiences in mele, and that's what it was, and that's what it is. I think we've gone from that kind of purpose to a marketing purpose, which holds some of that information as well, but I think there's a little bit skew on the marketing end. You know, man, if we do this song, it's kind of upbeat, but yeah, we don't follow all the elements of poetry, but yeah, it's okay, it's going to sell. That's we've moved to that, I believe. Maybe not all, but there's been a movement that way.
So, going into the conversation of Waikiki, and knowing that, you know, I've been doing a lot of research about Waikiki lately and seeing of where it was, how it has transformed over the generations and where it stands today, coming across that Waikiki was the hotspot for Hawaiian music. How has Hawaiian music changed in that scene?
The diminishing of venues. I think I do believe, just by pure observation alone, and now you know that I do work at the Hyatt Regency, and I've been there as their cultural manager for only 6 months, but prior to, and still ongoing, I've been playing music in Waikiki for more than 25 years. Seen a change, definitely. Less venues, less value to Hawaiian music. You know, hotels look for the bottom line. If the entertainment, if they can't, I believe if they cannot, what is the word I'm trying to look for? If they cannot substantiate why the Hawaiian music should still be there, meaning by dollars, then it's not necessary. So there's been a big change in the marketing of Hawaii, so as not to have the Hawaiian music available. I hope we can change that. I hope in the next few years we can make that change.
How do you see change coming about? Like, do you see Waikiki becoming what it used to be? Do you see it someplace else?
Well, the audience has changed. Okay, so that's one thing. We don't see, again, this is by pure observation, there's no scientific data that tells us this. What we do see is that we don't see many local people in Waikiki. Local people are not made up of only Hawaiians or Portuguese or Chinese, Japanese, as we knew the third or fourth generation immigrants, family of the immigrants who first came for working on the plantations. But we see people from different parts of the world who have no affinity, have no relationship with Hawaii. So that makes a big difference. When there's no relationship, it's pushing that boulder up the hill. And we hope, through educating the management of hotels, that would, maybe there would be a heart in there to make some change and bring some of that back. I don't see that happening anytime soon, because a lot of the management are not from Hawaii and have no connection.
With a lot of up-and-coming Hawaiian groups, young, energetic, eleu musicians, what would be your message to them of how to make Hawaiian music strong again within our own local people? Is there any?
I think keep it, I would say to any musician, keep it real. Don't look at the marketing purpose. Don't look at the economic gain. Look at the purpose of why we write these songs. If it is your marketing strategic point to be creating songs that's going to be marketable for you and that's how you're going to get money, I can't change that. but we cannot be speaking that we want to keep things Hawaiian and then try to change that in a marketing mentality. It just doesn't work. It doesn't pili again. We write mele because we want to document. We want to write mele because we have a legacy to leave. We write mele because we want to tell these stories that are important of who we are as a people. And and through that, you know, I'm a firm believer, if you build it, people will come. So if you build that, people will take to it. We need the help of media like your show. We need the help of social media to help make it important because we have a story to tell. You know, as far as visitors, you know, if we in Hawaii want to compete, meaning our industry wants to compete with sand, surf, and sun, then we might as well we be competing with the world. But what makes us different is is Hawaiian. Hawaiian makes all the difference in the world. That's why people want to come. And my hope is that if, as musicians, we keep the story, we keep it being told, even the old stories, stories of our ali'i, people who loved our ali'i, who wrote for them, about them. Let's keep that. Let's keep that. Because as new generations come through, as people come from different parts of the world, they don't know. So we're the storytellers already. You know, and we just got to do it. If not, I don't want to be negative Nelly, but I don't know where it'll go in the next 25 years.
So what I feel you talking about is really that responsibility that you have.
It's a kuleana.
So for you,
Definitely.
you know, being, you've been recognized and you've got a lot of awards. How does that make you feel that your responsibility, like, do you feel that you have a greater responsibility because you've been so recognized and you've been so successful as a musician, that your responsibility grows and your kuleana
Sure.
is moving forward?
Just as being a daughter of my parents, I feel I have a huge kuleana. But you know, it's not bad kuleana. It's good. It's a privilege to have that kind of kuleana. Yeah, I take it. Just, you know, I'll pick it up and go. And we have to. I do. It is my life's mission to be a caretaker, and whether it's music, whether it's people, whether it's aloha. You know, we just have to malama everything. That's what we have. That's what we're gifted with.
And leaving on aloha with a few minutes left, what to you and how through your work, what is aloha?
To give. And Pilahi Paki said it very well. To give of yourself without expectation of return. And really, I've really discovered recently that, you know, we talk about live aloha, be aloha, aloha spirit. But you know, aloha is actually attained by your actions, your behavior. It's not easy.
Take your notes, take your notes.
Not easy. It's attained.
Yes.
Aloha is attained.
So, you know, we have a few minutes left, and we're going to do something just a little. I want Auntie to showcase her beautiful voice and have everybody be mesmerized. And I want to enjoy that as well. So, Auntie's going to sing a song, and I'm going to go hula with you.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Keep them occupied. Let me get my guitar.
So, as I move on the upper side,
Oi,
too,
kalamai.
this song is, I believe we're going to do a song called Holo Holo Ka'a. Do you
Fun
have
song.
any mo'olelo about this song? What this song?
Let's just go for that ride and have a good time.
The song is about going holo holo when you and your friends just want to go cruise.
Yeah, you know.
Come on this side.
And come what may in the song, my goodness.
This is funny because I've never really done this before, so this is different for me too.
Yeah, me too.
But we're going to just
we go.
create
We
that.
just press.
We already get the poo-poos. We get the little poi and the poke, so we're going to end them with this.
Okay.
And before, if I forget, that we want to give a big mahalo to our sponsor, Hawaii Culture and Retail Association, for sponsoring this show and allowing us to be able to bring the mo'olelo to you in the comfort of your home. Mahalo to Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association for providing the awesome information of the la'au of aloe and its medicinal uses. So go check out your yards and your neighbors' yards of what we have around us in our aina. And also check out our new website, alohaauthentic.org, to check up and catch up on all past episodes and learn a little bit more mo'olelo and stories about our guests and go follow and learn more about on their websites and their links as well. So we're going to end it off. Mahalo. Check you guys out next month. Kau.
Ka Hawaii ka holo holo ka o nia na ka huila la vea halilo kuua ku oe a paupono na hua helu ka huana
Kauho.
Ka Hawaii ka holo holo ka o nia na ka huila la vea halilo kuua ku oe a paupono na hua helu ka huana
Alam.
Alawa iho oe maka au au Wana ka makani hele ulu ulu Mea ole ka piina me ka ihona Me na kihi ke e ala nui O ka pā
O ka pā.
O ka pā kona nea ka mahina Ahu wale no e ka pai o pua E ka ua i ka pina pau E huli ho i nei ka hauala ea
Haina.
Haina kou vei e kulei Ke huli ho I nei ka haua Step on the gas, hui, going this way He oni nei ka huila
Haina pā.
Pick me up, brother Haina kou vei e kulei Ke huli ho I nei ka haua Step on the gas, hui
Beep beep.
He oni nei ka huila
Aloha. We see you next week,
Aloha.
next month. Hui ho.
The spirit of aloha through the arch with aloha.